All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a really crucial but often overlooked part of our justice system, administrative tribunals. These are the bodies that handle our disputes with the government itself. So, what exactly are they, and how do they make sure we get a fair shake? Let's get into it.
So think about this for a second. Have you ever disagreed with a tax assessment? Or maybe you had a permit rejected or a benefits decision that just didn't seem right? When the government makes a call that affects you personally, who actually holds them accountable? For most of history, the only answer was, well, take them to court. And that right there was a huge problem.
You see, as we moved into the 20th century, and the idea of the welfare state really took hold, government got involved in pretty much every part of our lives. We're talking housing, health, employment, and just countless regulations. And this explosion of government power naturally led to an explosion of disputes between the state and its own citizens.
And the thing is, the traditional court system just wasn't built for this new reality. I mean, imagine trying to challenge a $500 fine in a court system that can take months, if not years, costs thousands in legal fees, is bogged down by super complex, rigid procedures, and is overseen by a judge who might be a genius in contract law, but knows next to nothing about, say, environmental permits. It was a massive, massive barrier to justice for any normal person.
This problem demanded a totally new idea. A different kind of place to resolve disputes, one that was designed from the ground up to be quick, cheap, and most importantly, fair. And this led to the creation of what we now call administrative tribunals. Now, it's really crucial to understand that tribunals are not just another type of court. They are unique. They're these specialized bodies, each one created by a specific act of parliament to oversee a very particular area of government. They really are an essential piece of administrative law. You know, the rule book for keeping government power in check.
Probably the best way to think about it is like this. If the traditional court system is a big general hospital, able to handle all sorts of major legal surgeries, then tribunals are like specialist clinics, right? You wouldn't go to a heart surgeon for a skin problem, and you shouldn't have to go to a high court judge for a fight over a parking permit. Tribunals provide that targeted, specialized expertise.
And when you put them side by side, the contrast is just stark. It's night and day. Where courts are formal and rigid, tribunals are informal and flexible. Where going to court is incredibly expensive, tribunals are often low cost or even free. They're built for speed. And maybe the biggest thing, instead of generalist judges, they're staffed by members who have deep, practical experience in their specific field.
Okay, so creating a faster, cheaper system is great. But it raised a really critical question. How do you make sure these new tribunals are actually fair? How do you stop them from just becoming rubber stamps for the very government agencies they're supposed to be watching? Well, they needed a solid set of rules.
And this is where a huge moment in legal history comes into play. The Franks Committee of 1957 in the UK. Its whole job was to figure out the essential rules of the game, the principles that would make tribunals legitimate pillars of the justice system. And its conclusions became the blueprint not just in Britain, but for tribunals all around the globe.
The committee boiled it all down to three simple, powerful values. First, openness. Decisions can't be made behind closed doors. Second, fairness. You have the right to know the case that's being made against you, and you get to present your side of the story. And third, impartiality. The person deciding your case absolutely cannot have a personal stake in the outcome. Simple as that.
Together, these three ideas, openness, fairness, impartiality, form the bedrock of what lawyers call natural justice. It's not some complicated legal theory. It's a simple, universal idea that every single person deserves a fair hearing before a decision is made that affects their rights. It's about fundamental fairness.
So that all sounds good in theory, right? But how do these principles, which were laid down more than 60 years ago, actually work today? Well, let's take a look at a modern example, the Administrative Court of Nepal, to see these ideas in action.
Just look at how this court is structured. The chairperson has to be a sitting or qualified high court judge. That ensures real judicial independence and legal rigor. But then look at the other two members. They are seasoned officials, people with over a decade of experience as a first-class officer in the judicial service, or with a master's in law. This blend of judicial oversight and deep specialist knowledge, this is the exact model tribunals were created for.
And you can see how fiercely the highest courts protect this.
In this case, the Supreme Court of Nepal called the principle of a fair hearing a foundational doctrine. It's not just about ticking boxes on a form. It's about giving a person real, substantive, procedural security against unfair government action. This is the whole promise of the system, right there in practice.
So, what's the big picture here? Why do these tribunals matter so much? Well, it's because they sit at the very heart of a fundamental tension that exists in any modern democracy.
On the one hand, the state needs to be able to govern effectively and efficiently. On the other hand, we, the citizens, need to be protected from arbitrary or unfair uses of that power. Tribunals are the incredible mechanism we've invented to manage that very delicate balancing act, to deliver justice that isn't just correct, but is also accessible, affordable, and expert.
So let's just quickly recap the main takeaways. The modern state created a whole new world of potential conflicts, a dilemma that traditional courts just couldn't solve. Tribunals were the revolutionary answer, offering a faster, cheaper, more expert way to resolve them. But for them to have any legitimacy, they absolutely must operate with fairness, openness, and impartiality. This whole system is a vital and constantly evolving part of what it means to live under the rule of law.
And that brings us to a final big question. The world is not getting any simpler. Government's role in our lives is only going to continue to change and expand. The Tribunal Revolution was the answer for the 20th century. So what will be the answer for the 21st? And how do we make sure our systems of justice are always ready for whatever comes next?